Welcome back to the M3 podcast. It's Rick and I again. Kind of piggybacking off our last podcast, so we're discussing time. Today, discussing attention being the new currency. And in our world, we live in a digital space now, and with what AI is doing, and a stat that I always remember from reading The Comfort Crisis was that the average college student now spends 8 hours a day on their phone.
Wow. And I would hazard to guess that time has not gone down in the last few years.
That's just on a phone. Like if we talk screen time as a whole, like people just live to be glued to a screen. I have a screen right here in front of me going over stuff. So it's people watching this. I mean, it's attention is currency now, and
well, and even just think about it from this. Like we talked about in the last episode, 86,400 seconds in a day, right? They're printing more money literally every single day. Nobody's printing any more time. Time is finite. Money is not. You can get more money. You can't get more time.
I have on here, most people will say money, status, or freedom, but none of those exist without your attention. And it's sad, actually, in a way, that people put so much attention into things that ultimately don't matter. And from a marketing standpoint, I mean, we play into the whole game of all of it. Like, I'm not somebody that likes social media. I'm not somebody that likes to live on a phone. I love being outdoors. I love being in nature and enjoying the people around me. In today's time, it's just too valuable of a business tool.
It is.
If we know where people are at, meet them where they're at. We're not going to recreate the market. I don't think Rick and I here are going to change everybody that tomorrow they're like, hey, you know what? We're not using social media anymore.
You guys were right. We're not using the phones.
Yeah. So I'm going to say I don't think we have that big of an influence out there. But what's crazy is, to that point, you can make it to where you ask the question, who's spending their attention on you? And I think a lot of times when we start posting, when we start putting stuff out there, we look at the attention that's coming in as saying, okay, I have a lot of attention, I have a lot of eyeballs on what we do. How many negative comments do we get on taco reviews every week?
It's normally quite a few.
Yeah. And it's wild what it's based on. Oh, you wore a white shirt this week. Like, oh, you're having 2 buttons undone to where you can see your little gold chain is too much. Like, just stupid shit. But guess what? We still got their attention. So who wins that game? Ultimately, we're still winning that game. 10 out of 10 times. Because, they don't get our attention back. They're not even posting to even go give attention to it. You think I give any attention to somebody that posted on a taco review a month ago? 6 months ago? We get their attention every week, again, and again. So, why does attention matter? Back, I look at a few hundred years ago, the commodities that we looked at were gold. They were precious metals that we get from the earth. And I truly think of oil, and I think of gold, and I think of all these things that we have, that attention is actually more valuable. That you see media companies that are worth more than jewelry stores, worth more than gold companies. Or why do you have multi-billion-dollar media companies? Why is that?
Yeah, I think that goes back to the attention is really the only resource that's finite because of time, right? So if there's only so many consumers in the world and they're going to be looking at advertising from somebody or listen to messaging from somebody, so these brands are willing to pay to be in front of the people. So if you have a business or some type of audience that you've curated, whether it's inside of a platform, speaking like a influencer or a content creator or a business, or the platform itself, if you have all of the attention, if you can look at that as the resource, because at the end of the day, somebody's gonna need attention before they can exchange money. You gotta know about the service or know about the business or whatever it is before you can buy from them. So that attention is scarce. There's only so much of it to go around. So that's why if you can curate that attention and then place ads or whatever it is in front of them, that's going to have a lot of leverage. Or if it's the case of an influencer that has maybe 100,000 followers and they have a lot of leverage with attention, that if they talk about a product or talk about whatever it is, that's getting in front of ideally the correct target audience. So that's really powerful. It's the same thing with Super Bowl commercials. The reason they're so expensive is because they're in front of a lot of people that are actually going to watch them during the Super Bowl, at least.
And I think that's when you bring up a idea of just a Super Bowl commercial, that I've told people I would never spend money on TV advertisement unless it was a Super Bowl commercial. And most people are like, well, I don't have a budget for a Super Bowl commercial. I'm like, it's the only commercials that people are actually like waiting to watch. Yeah. And I think it has even died down a little bit in the last couple of years because they get leaked now via social media, to where people like this last Super Bowl, I didn't watch a lot of the commercials because I'd already seen most of them. But that is something that I think it's getting harder and harder to get people's attention, because the space is becoming more and more saturated. There's
a lot of noise in the world.
Yes. And it's one of those things too, though, that like you open a phone and you're like, hey, I'm jumping on just for a second, and boom, you lose 45 minutes. Like, I'm guilty of it all the time at work. Sometimes I feel like mine isn't always like from a social media standpoint. I do feel like I'm working when it gets into emails and things like that, but it's wild how quick those things like kind of disappear, and you don't even like recognize it.
It's scary how fast you can like get on to do something, and then you're like 2-3 clicks in, and then it's like it's almost just habitual. It's like, what am I even doing? What did I get on the computer to do in the first place?
Yeah, so one of the topics that I want to cover is algorithms are an invisible puppeteer. And the wild part is algorithms don't just capture your attention, they shape it. To where I think that's why there's so much money in media, that's why there's so much money in the world that we live in now, that these algorithms are, a lot of times when we're speaking with business owners, the algorithm's built to keep people on platform. And I think that's a lot of people have a misconception when it comes to paid ads. And spoken on the last podcast where people are just asking for things all the time. If you're putting content out that doesn't willingly get attention, the platforms don't push that. So if you look at Meta, so you look at Facebook, Instagram, you look at LinkedIn, you look at TikTok, you look at X, you look at whatever it may be, the algorithm is built around trying to keep you there for as long as it can. To where if you're asking something every single time that you put an ad out, I don't think I've met somebody to date that are like, yeah, I love ads. I love them. To where if you look at how the attention is acquired, that should be one of the main shaping points of your marketing strategy. That should be one of the main shaping points of how you go after even tackling a digital footprint and a digital messaging. But most people just ask. They ask. And I watch what media does from a political standpoint. That the difference is also what I watch a lot of times, and I focus really heavily on when, and I see it a lot with the older generation, that they share things. The algorithm doesn't care if something's true or false. All it cares about is if somebody watched it. To where the amount of false things I've seen in just the last couple of days from current events that have taken place is wild.
Yeah, and it can be like totally harmless stuff that just simply isn't true, and gets a response out of people, or it can be something that does have malintent and is a misdirection of some sort, and then gets people fired up and commenting, and then that triggers the algorithm to send it out even more.
Yeah, and you watch what the algorithm looks like on a lot of people's devices, and I bet most of the time you could probably give me someone's device. I could look at their explore page on Instagram and scroll their TikTok. And I could probably tell you, I could tell you so much about who that person is
Yeah.
and what kind of attitude they carry.
Oh yeah.
And
Well, that comes back to it's because people are spending so much time on their phones, like the 6 to 8 hours a day or whatever it is, like that, their phone begins to be the lens that they see the world through. You're having so much more interaction with people outside of your walls through your phone than you're going to day to day in person. Like you probably talk to the same 10, 20 people at most during the day. So a lot of your interactions coming through the phone. So if you're stuck in this algorithm, which we all are, which is everybody's algorithm is different, and a lot of people might not even realize that it's specific to them. You're living in an echo chamber of whatever the things are that you've been interested in the last 30, 60 days.
And I think from like the very top point, I think when it comes like down line into like, if we just say 2 buckets of someone is going to come down, like the first thing I notice watching, I've seen other people scroll on their phone, and it's like, is this toxic or uplifting? Like from the bare minimum, like negative, positive.
Yeah.
And I feel like a lot of people, their algorithm is built around negativity. Their lens that they look at everything is through a negative lens. It's that victim mentality. It's everything is someone else's fault. It's that's all the content they consume. So then ultimately it shapes their world to that. I've had business owners that sit there and they will talk about how the whole world's terrible, how the market's about to crash, and they're like a million different things. And then as I further the conversation, I'll bring up somebody that like, hey, like Alex Ramosi, you've probably seen him, like Gary Vee, and they're like, who are they? I was like, dude, this guy, like they're on my feed every like 3 videos.
Yeah.
I'm like, what are you seeing? Like how are these business development motivation people not on your feed? So but that's what the algorithm. If you give toxicity. I don't know.
Either way,
I'm not an English major, but if you give the negativity and you feed into it, you're going to find more negativity.
Absolutely.
You find the positivity, you feed into it, it's going to give you more positivity. I feel like when I watch I will say out of all the platforms, the one that I feel the algorithm I like the most from a personal standpoint is TikTok.
Why is that?
It feeds me stuff that I want to see. So, but the only time I scroll TikTok is on the treadmill. I've made it kind of a habit because it is a slippery slope. But the algorithm is feeding me business stuff. It is feeding me personal development stuff. It's feeding me motivation. It's feeding me the things that I want. Sometimes I feel like Meta is just like off the rails. Like some days I feel like it's on, and some days I feel like I'm looking. I'm like, what is this?
Why is this stuff popping up? What did I click on to get here?
Yeah. So I think sometimes from they all run very different, and LinkedIn tends to be a much more business forefront, but it still runs the same way. That I get a lot of things on like acquisition deals, a lot of deals on like things that are happening in business going northbound. And then I've also seen other people that their whole thing is about like companies closing and this is happening. And like, to where that's all you're watching. You get online and you see 20 companies that go under. You're positioning yourself as the 21st company to go under.
All these companies are going under. What you don't see, look this way, and it's, these 100 companies are absolutely crushing it.
Yeah. And it's when you start looking at what you pay attention to and you start looking at how much that builds who you are and builds the framework of your mind, and I think sometimes people like start getting sucked in a negativity hole, and then when everything around them starts feeding into that, they don't know how to get out of it. And I think sometimes I'm going to say that our modern world of TV is an absolute train wreck.
It is.
Like with was it The Bachelor, The Bachelorette, Love Island, and all these stupid shows that people watch nowadays. The negativity piece of that. Like in what world does a male or female, you can play either side of the fence, do you go out, that there's males now that think that there's 40 girls that are going to line up that want to be with them.
Yeah.
And they're like, well, I don't know, my life's not. And vice versa. There's females that watch these shows and they go out to a bar and they're like, I don't know why there's not 40 guys lined up that are fighting for me. I don't even watch Love Island, so I don't even know what that's about. But you see, like, I see shit pop up online and I scroll right by it because I do not want that show on my feed because it's just such a toxic, just nagging, terrible narrative of like, I'm not going to give my attention to that. But there's so many people that just get sucked into it and they suck into it and then they're giving their attention to these people that they don't know and all these people's problems, and then they start justifying things in their life as like, well, maybe I don't need to work on that. It's not near as bad as that guy on the show or that girl on the show. Yeah,
they start to compare their lives to the drama-filled TV narratives, and I think part of the reason people get sucked into that so quickly is that for most of the people that are watching it, they can probably relate to some of the struggles or some of the situations that have happened. So then they're getting like that physical or chemical response in their mind, like they're going through it. So then they're hooked to it, and then they watch 2-3 hours of that and then go to bed like right afterwards, just filling all your mind with the negativity, and then you're going to sleep. So then you wake up in the morning, you're still having that running through your head, and the first thing you do is hop on your phone and see all that same shit.
Yeah.
It puts you in a reactive state, which is something that you talk about a lot, being proactive rather than reactive. When you're on the dopamine response of scrolling your phone, responding to all this stimulus, you're reacting to your world rather than creating it and being proactive.
Yeah, and I do talk a lot about proactive to reactive, and proactively when I have things that are hard in business, when I have those things, like if I go start chasing that rabbit hole, ultimately I'm going to start giving my attention to the things that seem closest to what I'm dealing with. So if I'm having things that aren't going well, I start gravitating to the things that aren't going well for other people. Then all of a sudden my algorithm shifts and it says, hey, this is what's going to keep him on platform. We know what he's going through right now. Keep feeding him. Yeah. It's a addict that's getting their fix. To where my thing is, like, when I have hard times in business and I have walls that I run into, I watch documentaries on Walt Disney, on Henry Ford. I want to see the positivity of the people that made it through. And it, like, that's how I always look at my attention, is what am I going to give it to? I'm not going to let social media win. And once again, like, I look at the business forefront being a little different than overall just like news media, things like that. But if you understand how those things work, you also understand how to get people's attention, to where, why have we grown a larger following than any other marketing agency around? Because we actually put things out that people willingly give their attention to. We put things out like this, that business owners that are going through similar things, individuals that are going, this can be a podcast that anybody listens to. If you're just struggling with attention and being glued to your phone all the time, great podcast to listen to. There's no set spot that you have to be in life to listen to this. We're not asking for you to market with us or any of that stuff. But once again, if you can't understand that piece of the puzzle, that's why marketing agencies are falling like rocks everywhere. The crazy thing is, I thought when I understood that one piece of marketing, I thought I'd talk to marketing agencies and like people that were in the marketing world, and they would just know, like, that was like a common.
Like, duh, you should have creative that people want to see as a baseline.
Yeah. That's like, it's not even in their lineup of anything.
Not even considered.
Yeah. So to the attention point, what do you think are different strategies that people can use to reclaim their attention?
The first is limit your distractions. And really easy way to do that, put your phone face down. Whatever notifications are coming through probably aren't so critically important that you need to answer it right now. So if you have like even start with 45-minute window or 90-minute window that you can just put the phone down and focus on whatever it is that you're focusing on. And then after that time frame, then you can check in if you need to. But eliminating distractions is a really good place to start. And then a really simple one, noise canceling headphones. That helps me a ton, is the other noises that are going on, because I start to realize like I can be working on something, and then I can start to realize that, oh, I'm actually listening to this conversation with part of my attention, and it's like distracting from what I have going on here. So noise canceling headphones help a lot, but eliminating distractions in general is a good place to start.
Yeah, something that I went through for quite a while was I got away from Apple Watch. Like, I actually got to where when I took my Apple Watch off, I get in bed and I felt like I could feel it vibrating on my arm.
Because it would happen so often?
Yeah. And I felt like it made it to where my attention wasn't fully in a meeting when I sat down with someone. Like, something I'm very disciplined about now is no matter what the meeting is that I'm in, I tell people, like, if you call me and I'm in a meeting, like, I'm not answering. Like, I'm just the only person that once in a while, like, if my wife calls me multiple times, my phone is up. I don't flip, like, a Facebook notification, an email, any of that stuff. None of that stuff is that pressing. Like, all of those things can wait till after the meeting that I'm in. I'm going to give my full attention in that meeting.
And I think it's that the intentionality behind it, and then being able to catch yourself between the thought of, oh, I need to check that, to just realize, no, I don't. It's fine. Yeah. And the more often you can catch yourself without reacting to it, that's kind of what the whole game is sort of about.
Because I hate being in a meeting and somebody that picks up their phone and I lose their attention.
Yeah.
Because I feel like then my time's not as valuable of whatever they're looking at. Which I guarantee you most of the time, like, if we're sitting here having this conversation, I'm like, oh, you know what, Ricky? Let's see here. I got a front door notification. I got some stuff that's happening on Robinhood, email. Like, none of that shit's as important as this meeting.
Right.
No matter what's on there. But most people will sit there and they're like, well, I gotta know what's happening.
Guess what it is.
Yeah.
At least you got to check it.
Yeah. And it's something that I started doing probably like 2 years ago, as Mass and I really don't use our phones in our bedroom anymore. And I started putting it in my in the bathroom. I got a deal in there. I do wear an Apple Watch to the gym, but I have it turned off for all my notifications.
Yeah.
Because I don't like to be on my phone at the gym. If I'm on the treadmill, I'm allowed to scroll TikTok. If I get off the treadmill, I don't want to be on my phone. I just want to be able to control my music.
Yep.
Pretty much it. Like, because I know shit's coming through there. I know if I pick it up, like, it's really hard for me to just like ignore it. Because at that point, it's like, if I'm sitting with you, I know that like my attention is directed this way. If I'm at the gym, I know that my attention needs to be directed on myself and doing what I need to be doing there, to where it's really easy for me to sell my way out of like, well, I can get this handled now. Later, me is going to thank me.
Yep. And then it's like 2-3 minutes go by, or then you open an app. It's like, oh, that's 6 minutes that just disappeared.
Yeah. Then all of a sudden, I'm like, maybe I go get back on the treadmill because I need to handle a bunch of these things. So it is a catch-22 on that, and that's where I look at it, is like people have to get better at, like, I think a lot of times where like Madison's grandpa rocks a flip phone with just some phone numbers in it. That's it.
I love that.
His iPad's called the Facebook.
The Facebook.
That's his iPad's the Facebook. So it's funny that I sit with those people and they're so present the whole time that you're with them. That a lot of my friend groups, 65 plus years of age, who Boy and I hang out with at the lake and we smoke cigars with, and it's, you don't sit with those individuals and then be playing on their phones. And it's wild just how you have an evening, you get up the next day and you're like, wow, that was such an amazing evening. But then there's like people that will scroll their phone until they fall asleep with their phone right next to them. Like, well, I have my charger by my bed and I haven't ran up. So like whenever I fall asleep, my phone charges and I just get up in the morning and then
keep scrolling.
I'm like,
just pick up where I left off.
It makes me like sick. It makes my stomach hurt. If I got in bed and I didn't talk to Madison and I didn't go over what we have happening the next day, the things that are moving forward in life, things that we need to work on, I just sat there and scrolled, like what's the benefit that I'm getting before I go to bed?
It's just a distraction.
Yeah. And that attention, I think you have to like force your environment to start looking the way that you want it to. Like I used to not be very disciplined on like when my time was available in my office. So I feel like I was always like multitasking. So my attention was never like really directed somewhere. So I feel like I was just bouncing from this to this and this. And I still catch myself doing it. I'm not going to say it's like I fixed it fully. But being more disciplined on like this direction. And sometimes that direction may be 30 minutes of me turning off business because I'm jammed up in whatever I'm doing. And I listen to an Audible book and just sit at my desk. I'm not scrolling. I'm not doing anything. I'm just like sitting there listening.
Yeah.
And I used to be like, dude, if somebody walks by my office, they're going to be like, Dane's doing nothing. And I'm like, you know what? It doesn't matter. Like, to me, that 30 minutes is the best attention I can give my mind at that time. And we do timesheets, and when we first started doing timesheets, I think the craziest thing is like when you talk about attention, where people are allocating their time. And when we were doing when we do those, the first time people ever fill them out, they never put that they scrolled on their phone during the day. I love like the first week when people do timesheets and I look at them, I'm like, wow, all week, every hour you were at the office, you never scrolled on your phone. That's impressive.
It's crazy.
And they're like, well, I didn't put that on there. I go, so where was your attention focused during this? Could you have gotten this task done faster and more effectively if you gave it 100% of your attention? Instead of maybe, 20, 30? Because most of the time I feel like it's a lot easier for what's on our phone to get majority of our attention. But people just aren't used to being present.
There's a lot of really smart people that are putting a lot of effort into making that phone very enticing.
Yeah. And it's like, granted, from a work side, I used to think that I figured out that the most valuable thing I can do work-wise, and I think this, depending on the industry you're in, but the most valuable thing I can do for anything MMG related is be present with people. When I'm truly present, which the media side, all those things, that all plays into effect, which the attention that we're getting from people, there's a currency to that. It's putting people in the funnel. But then when that person comes and gets in front of you, give them your attention. Be so disciplined on that. And I think when you start doing that, you become more mindful and aware of what that attention looks like.
Absolutely. And I think part of like doing the timesheet, it's not just to, okay, we can take this time, put it here, be a little more effective over here. The other thing that it does is it builds the habit of thinking about where your attention is to begin with. Because if things aren't tracked or measured, then you're not going to pay attention to them.
Yeah.
So if you're paying attention to what you're thinking about, or you're aware to what you're thinking about or focused on, and you build that habit, you can check in with yourself more often throughout the day. And that's where it's a little bit tough in the beginning, is that you're not just going to be 100% on task and aware and locked in all the time.
It's not like you switch, you flip.
Yeah.
Like, I got it figured out.
It's how often do you catch yourself being unaware? And I feel like that's been a little bit more helpful for me. So like the more often you catch yourself like, oh, I'm thinking about this thing, let's get back on task.
Yeah.
The more often you get in the habit of correcting yourself, that's super powerful.
I started looking at too when I get my daily screen time would come across on a Sunday. It's wild how big that number is. Sometimes you don't even realize where it's at.
Yeah.
Like, that's what blows my mind, because there's weeks that like business will be great, things like that, but then I'll get that and I'm like, whoa, why is that number so, like, how is that possible? Then I start thinking about, oh, I took a trip up to Nebraska, and when I was on the bus the whole entire time I was on my phone. There was a lot of hours there. Oh yeah, I was doing X, Y, and Z, and when I was doing that, I was on my phone. So I've started making it more of a habit to where in those times, like, how do I leverage that time more? Once again, from our last podcast, like, you don't get that back. So listen to an Audible book, listen to something, a podcast, something that moves the needle forward. So I've focused on capitalizing on more of that time, because our attention span is so short when we're on social, when we're doing these things. Most people, like most businesses, think if they get in front of somebody one time and they slam them with this offer, they're going to be like, oh, yeah, man, I'm buying.
Buy now.
Yeah. No.
Not how it works.
We've stayed in front of people for so long, and we have people come in, they're like, dude, we've been following you for 2 years. They finally pull the trigger. So it's like, it doesn't happen overnight.
Yeah.
And this like get rich quick scheme, I catch somebody for 3 seconds, all of a sudden, like they're buying from me. Like that narrative is so false. And we start trying to like, it's funny when we have people that come through our walls that we tell them that, and that's not what they want to hear. So they go somewhere else to try to hear the same thing. Like, we have a client that he paid another marketing agency for some radio shit, and he reaches out with this report, and he's going over it, and they got 90 clicks off of their digital banner that they put up in a month, and we got him 100 or 1,840 or something. And I told him the things that he was being pitched, he liked to hear.
Yeah.
But they were not reality of what true attention looked like. So he reached back out and was like, hey, said something about like, I have a buddy that's a marketing expert, blah, blah, blah. And she pretty much said like, we need to get them on a phone. And I was like, yeah, sign me up, put me on a phone, because what they're selling you is not true. It's just whatever you want to hear, which that's a lot of what attention is online. It's not always the truth. It's just what people want to hear. And it's pitched to people all day, every day. And then they start building that in their head that that's reality.
And we're moving into a very interesting spot now with the emergence of AI in general and the content creation behind that. Like, we're getting really close to the point where a lot of the stuff that they're looking at is just going to be totally fictitious. Both the stories, the articles, the people posting them, that you go to their page and it looks like it's an actual person. Like, people aren't even interacting with anything that's like going to be quote unquote real at that point.
I've had somebody that was like said something. I'm like, that sounds like something that you got off the Onion.
Yeah.
And they're like, I saved it. They go to it. It was off the Onion. I was like, that's not real. But I also look at with AI, the older generation, you're going to get like my Nana, she's 90. I'm probably going to catch her one of these days. She's going to be like, did you see that shark that was walking on land that ate the reporter and then got back in the ocean? Did you see that?
Watch the video of it.
Yeah, it looked like a news station. It was down in Florida. Like, it looks real. Why wouldn't they think it's real? And are they going to get our attention on it? 100%. And it's crazy the pathways that we're taking as people, but how much it's controlled by algorithm and how much it's controlled to what you are willingly giving your time to and what you are willingly giving your attention to. That algorithm is going to craft itself right behind you. And it's going to figure out how to get your time. Because algorithms have figured out that dopamine and how to give it to you. I think screens are more of a drug than anything else we have in our world right now. Like times 10.
Yeah.
Tell me something that's more addicting out there right now. Like the narrative that people are creating. I mean, with what you have on like Discords and what you have on Reddit now, like the ability of what people do is just pretty crazy.
It absolutely is. And it's not going to slow down either.
No, it's going to get worse.
And yeah, the war on your attention is not going to slow down either.
Yeah.
So that's a habit that is going to be just as important now today as it's going to be 10 years down the road, 30 years down the road, or whatever. It's important if you're a student that's going through school, or you're just getting started in business, or you're starting a family, or you're 65 years old.
Yeah.
There's still going to be a war on your attention. And that's the only thing that you really have control over is your attention and actions. And you got to take that control back.
Yeah. So I think to wrap this up, people, make sure you're focused on what you're giving your attention to.
And man, if you haven't looked at your screen time, swipe over to the left and look at your screen time.
And I'll say that's part to the phone, but also focus on what you're giving your attention to on the TV.
Oh, yeah.
That watching these drama shows and things like that there's a reason they keep scaling up and more of them are coming into space, is that giving you a benefit in your life? Is that giving you something that, because that's attention also. If focus on what the attention is. If you're reading a book, that's attention that you're giving. Where are you pointing it? And I think if people just focus more on that on a daily basis, they can figure out a lot of great things to help themselves move forward. And I think that goes to the time, being more present, all of it together. But any final thoughts?
I think that summed it up very nicely.
I like it. Make sure you're focusing on your attention. That's M3 Podcast. Peace.
Thanks for listening to the M3 Podcast. Be sure to subscribe so you don't miss the next episode. Want to learn more? Check us out on Instagram at Moss Marketing Group, on Facebook at Moss Marketing 58, or on our website at mossmarketinggroup.com.